fight, and he doesn't want to be overly risky in there. But since the fight is international, there's always that assumption that maybe you got to do more in order to get these decisions if it goes 12 rounds. Do you buy into that?
No, I think the judges that have been selected have highest qualifications. Carl Moretti, on behalf of Top Rank, has vetted all the judges. So I put all that aside. Whoever wins the fight, I'm confident will get the decision.
When you stack Devin and his skills and what we've seen from George in his past few fights and what he brings to the table, what's your honest assessment with how the fight should play out?
Well, I think Devin should box the pants off Kambosos.
What's good, family? So mash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell. So we just heard there from your mans, Bob Arum. Now, for you cats who don't know, I've put some big man coin, well, for big man coin for me anyway, on your mans, Devin Haney. I just don't see... Kambosos is okay, he's a solid guy, but for me, Kambosos in his last 3 fights has 3 split decisions, and 2 of which were against bums. One called Lee Selby, one called Mickey Bay, who was 36 years old, and then obviously one called Teofimo Lopez, who, as we know, was running straight forward and getting his head boxed in. It's very easy to sit back and beat someone, to be honest, who's just running forward and very sloppy. In fact, we've got 2 examples of that recently. We've got Josh Taylor versus Catterall, and we've got Teofimo Lopez versus Kambosos. Now, Devin Haney, he ain't going to be doing no stupid stuff like that, in my opinion. And I just see him as the cleaner fighter. Anyway, the reason I tell you that is because I've been nervous. Yeah? Your man Nawabi's butt's been twitching. Because obviously we know Devin Haney isn't likely to stop Kambosos, so that means we're going to rely on the judges' scorecards. And that has been my big reservation, really. Is it worth it? Let's not forget, people, in Australia we have seen Jeff Horn, who was nowhere near as big as Kambosos. Kambosos is an undisputed champion, about to fill a stadium out. Horn was only a single belt champion. And still, in Australia, Manny Pacquiao, who was a huge star, much bigger than Devin Haney, he couldn't get it done over there. And that was somewhat of a clear win for Pacquiao. So, it's a bit dodgy. Anyway, until this video came out, I was nervous, but after hearing these words from Bob Arum, I'm gassed right now, 100%. I'm much more confident. Of course, things can still go left, but I'm much more confident now. And everyone should be much more confident now. More confident, listen, if Kambosos wins, he wins. If that makes sense. If he wins because he won the fight, fair play to the guy. But we're confident now we can get I'm more confident now after hearing Bob, we can get a fair shake. Yeah? Now, a few days ago, or about a week ago now, Eddie Hearn came out and said, I'm worried for Devin Haney because he doesn't have a promoter out there for him. And that was another thing that worried on me. For some reason, I was under the guise that it was all Team Kambosos that were running things. Lou DiBella. It was only until really today we find out that Top Rank are actually involved. Top Rank are actually Team Haney. Top Rank have a multiple fight deal with Devin Haney. They don't have a multiple fight deal with Kambosos. You understand? So that tells you that Top Rank, who's the main... Let's not forget, people, this show, in the US, the big market for this show is still ESPN. That's the big broadcaster. So the big money and the big promoter is Top Rank. Devin Haney has a multi-fight deal with Top Rank. So there's no incentive for Bob Arum. If Devin Haney loses, Bob Arum's got a multi-fight contract with a dude with no belts who isn't a big star. Do you understand? And you hear here, Bob Arum says, I want Devin Haney to get the belts and bring them back to the US. Bob Arum's an American. Now, I'm not saying that means anything. If that may, I'm not saying that Bob's got some crazy patriotism, but you best believe Bob likes coins, and Bob knows Devin Haney as an American champion, or Devin Haney as an undisputed world champion, is 10 times more valuable than Devin Haney with a loss and no belts. Yeah? So that tells you that that's a massive incentive for things to be, if anything. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the favours are in Devin Haney's corner, but, I mean, what can we say here? Bob, if Kambosos wins, from what I understand, Kambosos is with Lou DiBella. Top Rank don't have no rights over Kambosos. So if Kambosos wins, Top Rank have put this money in for nothing, essentially. Yes, they'll make some money on the pay-per-view for the fight, of course, but still, they're left with an asset that's worthless. So there's huge incentives here from Top Rank, from ESPN, for Devin Haney to win. And that was something, bear in mind what I told you about Eddie Hearn, that was something up until today I didn't know existed. Eddie Hearn said he got no promoter, he's got no network, and that's not a good look. I thought the whole thing was pure Team Kambosos. Now, of course, having said this, like I said, it doesn't mean, let's not forget people, when Manny Pacquiao got robbed, from what I understand, Bob Arum and ESPN or whatever, that was still the case. So there's two powers there's two forces at work here. We've got the Top Rank and ESPN shtick, which seems to be on Devin Haney's side, but we've also got the Australian government and their influence. Let's not forget, they haven't allowed Devin Haney's dad in. And Bob Arum, that's another strong point here. Bob Arum basically slagged off the Australian government for not letting Bill Haney in. So that was another strong piece of support from Bob Arum, but this show tells you that it's not... Yes, I'm more encouraged at the fact that Devin Haney has Bob Arum and Top Rank and ESPN behind him now, but equally, there's still other forces at play here. You know, we don't know, the same way they haven't let Bill Haney in, we don't know what's going on here. Because that for me is an odd move. Yeah, it's an odd move because, let's not forget people, this whole event has been set up by the Australian government. It's not like it's one of them ones where there's some sort of private event in Australia. No, the Australian government, they're the ones who've been funding this. They're involved at the minute level. So why can't they waive it? Do you know, I just think that's odd. So, on that basis, who's to say that some of these judges haven't had a knock at the door? Or you just don't know, do you? Let's not forget, the same way the Jeff Horn and the Manny Pacquiao thing happened. Yeah, it's one of them ones. But Bob Arum says in the interview, he's very sure that there ain't going to be no funny decisions. So, listen, we can't change nothing. If it's going to be a peak one, it's going to be a peak one. But listen, this was night and day for me. Now, one thing I will say though, is it possible though that Bob Arum's acting as a double agent, in as much as could he be saying all this as a front, so that when Haney does get shafted, he can say, "Well, no, I was with you. Heard me. I've told you I'm with Team Haney," kind of thing. Is it one of them ones? Do you know what I'm saying? This could be a double agent thing, but the reason I'm not so sure about that is because when you hear Bob say about he wants the belts to be brought back to the USA, and he thinks that the Australian government are out of order, those statements there he'd have to be really deep cover, wouldn't he? To be able to, for me, he sounded very genuine when he was talking about how it's really out of order for the government not to let Bill Haney in. The way, and if you can read body language, or if you can read I felt the sentiment when he said about bringing the belts back to the USA. That felt like decent sentiment there. It didn't seem like it was just saying it for the sake of saying it. So my body, all the body language stuff and whatever else I was reading into, it sounds like he genuinely is pulling for Dev. or not pull him. I'm not saying he gonna. Well, listen, listen. My coin on the line, yeah. If trust me, if he has to go, if has to wait. Listen, if Bob has to put the fix in, that's what he has to do, man. 100%. Get your man the YB is cool. That's what must happen. Listen, there ain't gonna be no. Listen, let me tell you now, yeah. There ain't gonna be no tears shed. Not even a bit of tears. As long as my coin comes in, couldn't care less, man. 100%. Dev must win at all costs. No doubt about it. But this for me is a massive piece of news. Not only that, he also said Devin Haney is another class of boxer than Kambosos, and he's going to beat the brakes off him. Again, that was another statement where, and in fact, if you watch the full interview on Fight Hub TV, George Kambosos, the interviewer says, "Oh look, there's George." So George was in the vicinity, and Bob Arum was saying, "Devin Haney going to beat his ass." So again, this could be some deep cover. Bob could be super deep cover right now and just saying, trying to do too much kind of thing to convince people that he's with Dev, so that when it goes the other way, he can say, no, you knew I was with Dev, it's not me. But equally, another thing that's got me confident is because we know Bob Arum has likely been talking to the feds in terms of the MTK and Kinahan stuff. Why is that relevant? Well, listen, when you start chatting to the feds, 9 times out of 10, you can't be involved in no funny business after that fact. Do you understand? Anything happens after that fact, you do dodgy, it could be surely peak for you. So trust me, Bob Arum has got to be squeaky clean right now. Yeah? So that's another good piece of circumstance as such. And like I said, the way that Bob said it, that he said, "I'm very confident there's going to be no funny business." Do you know what I'm saying? The way he said that, it's almost like, well, guess what? I didn't hear Bob Arum saying that before the Manny Pacquiao fight, as such. But we'll see. Let's see what happens. All I'm saying is, I go based on, we can only work on the information we have. Now, a week ago, I don't know about you, man. Well, put it this way, a week ago, yeah, or for the last few weeks, I haven't heard no one talking about how Devin has a multi-fight contract with Top Rank, and Bob Arum wants the belts back in the US, and Bob thinks Devin Haney going to box the head off of Kambosos, and you know, I haven't heard all that narrative. Like I said, all we heard was Eddie Hearn saying he's got no promoter out there, he's got no network, he's completely naked, and he's on his own, and his dad isn't there. Now, from what Bob said there, that's not even a bit of the truth. It sounds to me like Devin's got one of the strongest setups going right now. Really? The only way this setup could be stronger is if this event was in the US. That's it. That's the only way this whole setup could be stronger. Now, of course, that'd be that's a pretty big plus to have, having it in the US, but still. Someone's got to go abroad, and to be fair to Kambosos, he has been coming, and that's the thing. Kambosos' last 3 fights have all been split decisions in the US, and he's won them all. So, I say that because, listen, Kambosos, yeah, has been given the nod 3 times in a row. So I don't want to hear nothing in this one now. He's been given the benefit of that a whole bunch of times. It's about time it went. I mean, I'm someone who looks at probability, yeah, and the probability is it's about time one went the other way. How about that? Yeah, bunch of split decisions have an ass. And then this one need to go the right way, Dev way, 100%, no doubt. So I'm gonna be intrigued to see what you man think. Do you think Bob's deep cover? Do you think Bob's genuine? But I think he's genuine. And I think this is, like I said, when I gamble, I go based on information. And this for me was a huge piece. A huge piece. No one was saying this before. I haven't heard no one talk about this. Have you? I haven't heard no one. I haven't heard no one saying that essentially Bob Arum's Team Dev. I haven't heard that. Not even a bit. This is massive. So if any of you, man, have got any other information to the contrary, any information that may contradict what Bob Arum's saying, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, because I'm gassed right now. You best believe I've been piling even more coin on. Because I just don't, honestly, I don't see, fair for fair, I don't see what Kambosos is going to do. A lot of people have got too gassed over Kambosos. A lot of people, yeah, who didn't know, listen, when the guy was getting split decisions over Lee Selby and split decisions over Mickey Bay, 36-year-old Mickey Bay, I didn't hear no one talking about Kambosos' pound for pound and this, that, the other. No one was saying nothing. And then, fair play, he beat Teofimo Lopez, who was running forward and sloppy. Let's be real now. That was honestly the worst. I'm going to be honest with you. That was the worst Teofimo Lopez in history. It was. It's not Kambosos, yeah. He can only do what he can do, and he can only beat who's in front of him. But that doesn't change the facts. The facts are, that was the worst Kambosos. I mean, that was the worst Teofimo Lopez. And he got a split decision in that fight. Yeah? When you compare it to the Lopez who fought Lomachenko, who was cool and calm and collected, it's a whole different ball game. And I think Dev hasn't got that overly aggressive style. And to be honest, Devin can only gain, in my opinion, for being a bit more aggressive. I think he does need to. I've been tweeting him hard. You man know I've been going hard in the paint on Twitter with Dev. I've been telling him, listen, because that's one thing that Floyd did do. Or Floyd, yes, he'd be doing pity-patty, but a few times he'd put his feet down and let a few heavy. I remember seeing a few times Floyd teeing off on Canelo. Yeah, Barmelo was looking looking like a fish out of water a few times. Floyd would slip, put a quick 3-piece on dude, slip off, and he touched him. He touched me. Barmelo got touched. So there's nothing wrong with giving. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with me too in a dude. That's what Dev needs to do. Yeah? Because there should be levels to this game, and I don't see. Kambosos is a solid guy. I don't see him as pound for pound undisputed though. Equally, to be honest, I don't really see Dev as that either. But I'd say Kambosos for me is a B fighter, Dev's an A fighter, and Gervonta's an A-star fighter. Shakur's an A-star fighter. That's how I see things for me right now. That's the setup I've got. Gervonta and Shakur I'd put as A's. Dev as a... Sorry. Well, either way you want to look at it. Gervonta and Shakur as A-stars, Dev as an A, and Kambosos as a B. That's the kind of breakdown I've got. I think Dev's just a league above Kambosos, but we're going to find out. And if Kambosos proves differently, fair play to the guy. Fair play to him. Yeah, no doubt about it, 1,000,000%.